Hi, and welcome to Chamber Chat via Zoom. I'm Danielle McFadden, President of the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce. And with our two guests here, you'll know that it is TeamWalk time. I have Bruce Robinson, a longtime board member at Lowell General, chairman of the board's development committee, and one of the driving forces behind the creation of TeamWalk more than 20 years ago, and a founding member of the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce. And I also have 𝒔𝒊𝒂𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒔𝒆, a longtime director of social worker at Lowell General's Cancer Center, who distributes many of the TeamWalk grants to patients in need. Meg is also retiring this year after how many years at Lowell General?
32.
Congratulations. You kind of slipped that a little off
Yeah.
here, like when I retire, but I didn't know it was happening this year.
Yeah,
Wow. So this is our last time doing this,
it is.
unless they bring you back.
Well, I might come back for TeamWalk.
Perfect. Well, congratulations on that. That is big news. So let's start with Bruce. Can you tell us a little bit more about the format for TeamWalk this year?
Sure, Danielle, and thank you again for inviting us on. This year, like last, it's a little bit different than what we had done the previous 19 years because of the pandemic and the abundance of caution. We're not going to do a mass gathering of 5,000 people to go off for a 3 or a 6 mile walk. What we're asking people to do this year is they're going to do it on their terms, their turf, their time. We're asking people to organize their own teams, and they can walk anytime, a time of their choosing, any route of their choosing. Starting today, May 23rd through September 1st. You can register online just like the old-fashioned way at teamwalk.org. What we're asking is that the team captains please reach out to our TeamWalk coordinator, Andrea Jackson, and she will send out a little kit for you so that you can do lots of things that you would normally do if you were at the walk itself, for signing the wall of hope and things like that. And we're also this year, for the 24th, we have a special offering for our TeamWalk captains, a special, very unique pair of TeamWalk socks for anyone who volunteers as being the captain this year. So a little different format, but the cause is the same. It never changes. We're there to help Meg and all the cancer patients at the hospital.
It's been amazing to see how people have adapted their fundraising models and these major events that would draw hundreds, if not thousands of people. How have walkers responded to the change in format for TeamWalk?
They've been great. The walkers have been there, and last year, it's a little tough trying to figure out what's the difference after 19 years. The one thing that really has hurt us from the pandemic, in addition to not being able to do the physical walk the day, is the third-party events that these people do on their own throughout the course of the year. And they're such an important part of the fundraising. So we're missing some of that, but the walk itself must go on. And last year, we were able to collectively raise just over $360,000, which is just amazing for not a virtual walk, but certainly a hybrid walk, Danielle.
That is incredible. And what another thing that's incredible about TeamWalk is that every dollar goes back to cancer patients in need. So Meg, can you tell us about your role at the Cancer Center and how TeamWalk helps the patients you work with?
Yeah, that's probably the most important point, is that every dollar goes back to the patients. And it's been challenging because of the inability to raise the kind of money we've been raising. We have not had to cut any of our offerings, but we have tightened the amount of grants that we can give out, the total amounts. But these grants often are not big dollar amounts. I'm giving one today. It's a $50 gift card to the drugstore. He needs to purchase some over-the-counter pain relief, muscle relaxing type lotion. Doesn't have it. I called him to tell him to come get the gift certificate, and both him and his wife were crying. These aren't big dollar items that sometimes you can make a huge difference with. We have been known to be able to call an oil company when we found out somebody was living with no heat because their oil tank was empty and the oil delivery company wouldn't come out without at least a half a tank. We called, we said, we'll pay it, go fill up the tank. Sometimes it's a grocery card to Market Basket, or a ride. I think right now, especially because of the pandemic, holding on to a job is even more critical. So for these families to have to take 5 days a week off, you know, even though it's only a couple of hours, that's a major stumbling block for an employer. So trying to be not only sensitive to the patients, but the families, but to other employers. So we're offering some transportation assistance, and little things like that go a long way.
They sure do. And I love the fact that you're talking about the impact of these kind of what you're calling like smaller grants, because as somebody who would potentially be a donor, to know like, well, if I donate $50, like I might not think that's a lot to somebody else. Like it makes such a huge difference. So every dollar counts. So if you're watching right now, remember the impact that your donation can make, large or small. You can make a difference. And it's such a special place to work. You're ready to retire. How has it been like working here throughout all these years, Meg?
I came here with one other person and we opened this building. And I have to say, for me, the biggest thing is being allowed on these journeys with these patients and their families. It's actually a big privilege. I've been there myself personally, and having taken care of my sister at only 52. And it's a privilege to let people on the journey with you.
And you've both been around more than 20 years when TeamWalk began. So I'd love, Bruce, if you can talk about how it's grown over the years, and then Meg, your perspective as well would be great.
Thanks, Danielle. It's amazing. The first few years, we actually did it at the campus of Varnum Ave for Lowell General. And the mass confusion, buses going back and forth up to Maycomb. But it was the essence. We weren't sure anyone would show up. And the first walk taught us how important having local cancer care was. And of course, what happens is over the years, more and more people use the services because they were exposed to the disease either through a friend, family member, coworker, or neighbor. And it just grew because people started telling the results of the walk and the great work that Meg and her team has been doing over the years and how much of a difference it really makes. So a few years ago, we hit our high mark pre-pandemic. We actually did over $1 million in one day for our cancer patients. And, you know, every year it's a challenge to reinvent. Not many of these events go on for 20 years, Danielle. As you know, doing fundraising, they tend to get stale or you have to come up with another twist. But the essence of this walk is helping people locally deal with this disease. And that seems to have been as strong today as it was 20 years ago. So we're so thankful for the support of the community, all of our corporate sponsors. But it is, Meg knows this, I say this all the time, it's my favorite day of the year because we see what a difference the team, the doctors, the nurses over there are having in our community. And it's so close to have it so close to home. It's so great to have it so close to home.
What's your perspective, Meg, over the past 20 plus years?
I think for me, watching TeamWalk grow, but at a real grassroots level, the 10 kids from the local school, the Boy Scout troop, they may think it's such small dollars, but as I said, it can make such an impact. And I do think we have seen the greatest loss right now in our third-party events because it took it outside the walls of the walk, but it also allowed other people to support it in different ways. And those third-party events is a big piece of our dollars, but it's also a big piece to allow more people in the community to participate. And I'm hoping post-pandemic, we can get back there.
I think people are going to be raring to go and also to make an impact in the community. So I hope that TeamWalk is the beneficiary for a lot of those events. Let's talk about some of the fun events that have happened throughout the years. Let's get people thinking as they're watching this how they can help TeamWalk. What are some like really fun third-party events that have happened?
One of my favorites is the fashion show for CancerCare, which Robert Orr runs. It's a fun event and it's grown over the years. It's raised over $150,000 in one evening. But it allowed cancer patients, dead or alive, to participate in some way because they participate through their loved ones. And through that testimonial, they're not gone, they're still with us. And they still help other people. And that's a gift.
Mm-hmm. And I think
so. I'm sorry, just some of the smaller ones, because Robert Orr is legendary, and he has a cast of hundreds that does this. But that effort is months and months and months of work, and it doesn't have to be that big of a challenge. As Meg says, you know, the $50 donations are just as important as the $10,000 donation. So the Morissette family recently did their own Mo Money raffle, and they raised $10,000 just doing a raffle, which is great. We do a karaoke night where people there's a trivia night, a 70s party, polar plunges. I mean, you name it, over 20 years, we've seen and participated in a lot of crazy events, but they're all crazy for a great reason. And that is to help our cancer patients and their families, Danielle. So we attend many of these, but it's people do it on their own. I mean, we're just there as a support and maybe to thank them and accept the check, but people are very creative on raising money, and it's a lot of fun.
And nowadays I'm thinking, even if somebody's having maybe a barbecue this summer, they haven't seen people in a long time, say, hey, instead of bringing a hostess gift, make a donation to TeamWalk. I mean, there's so many simple ways that you can help, and everybody's been impacted by cancer to some degree. So I think that's what makes this so important and something that everybody wants to be a part of. I'm even thinking about when you have the walk in person and all the team t-shirts, like how special that is. Talk about keeping somebody's memory at the forefront and alive, and that's such a special way to do it.
Yeah.
Another important day, that day is the survivor shirts. I mean, that's what really moves me as well, because the people out there with their blue shirts on, it's a message to any one of us that getting the diagnosis of cancer is not a death threat. It's a challenge. Sometimes it doesn't have the result you want, but it is just seeing those survivors out there as a message. It's a beacon of hope for all of us, because I always say any one of us are one potential doctor's visit away from getting the diagnosis. So you want to instill courage, hope, faith, all the things that are the emblems of TeamWalk, and it's just so important.
And when they complete the walk at the end, there's a whole cheering squad cheering you on and clapping, and it's such a powerful event to be a part of. And even though it's different this year, there are still ways that you can make it equally as important and powerful.
And I think Bruce hit on a really good point. It's not the money raised, that's always nice, don't get me wrong, but it's the event. I had a small group of 3 cousins who did let's call it a lemonade stand. But mom and the daughters had made lollipops and some donuts and yada yada. And they did this in memory of their grandmother that they lost. And in 3 weekends, they raised $500.
Amazing.
Yeah, it really is.
And that's a good lesson for kids too, right? A way that they can give back and be entrepreneurial and philanthropic all at the same time.
Yeah.
And you're collaborating with Cobblestones, one of my favorites. So give me all the details. I need it all.
So this year, we came up with an idea from Andrea Jackson, our event coordinator. It's called the Spirit of TeamWalk. And people were asked to come up with their own drink recipes that kind of was the emblem of the spirit of TeamWalk. And so the time has passed for submissions, but today is actually This week, they're going to be choosing, Cobblestones is going to be choosing the winning drink from all those submitted. And they'll be on the menu at Cobblestones from late May through late June. And a portion of all the drinks sold for the winning drink will come back to TeamWalk. So it's kind of a fun way to celebrate the event. And as you say, Cobblestones and Moonstones, two of my favorite places on earth. If I have to go test a drink there to support TeamWalk, I'll find a way to do it, trust me.
I'm just thinking about how they chose the winner. They must have to make all of those, and that must be a party itself. You both should have been invited to that.
I think so.
Too late.
I
But
know that there's going to be another part to that, Bruce, and I don't know if you've heard about it, but my director, Alyssa Shanahan, is going to be actually a guest bartender there on a Monday night, and Robert is going to be a server. So they've pulled out some of these people to make it even bigger event.
That is so much fun. You see, we're not letting a pandemic stop us from having fun, being innovative, being creative, and raising money for a great cause.
Yeah.
So if somebody's watching and wants to get a team together for TeamWalk this year, what's the process? How do they do so?
The best way is to go online. You can go to teamwalk.org. You can register right there. And as I said, if you have any questions, you can reach out to the event coordinator for many years now, Andrea Jackson, and her email is ajackson@lowellgeneral.org.
And we'll put when we post this video, we'll put all the information. So the link to TeamWalk, Andrea's information. But before we wrap up, is there anything else that you want the viewers to know about TeamWalk and your connection to this wonderful event?
For me, it's just remember every dollar counts.
Yeah, and for me, it's the spiritual uplifting event of the year for me. And I promise, if you haven't been to TeamWalk, go someday, because it will literally change your life. I learned that 20 years ago when it was much smaller, and it's just gotten stronger every year.
Yeah,
it's true. Such a great point. And if you've never been involved, I'm sure if you put on Facebook, hey, is anybody involved in TeamWalk? I'd like to be a part of your team. You will certainly find multiple people that have a connection to this event, because it impacts the whole community.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both for being here. I can't wait to do this again in person sometime. Meg, happy retirement at the end of the year, but we have to bring you back.
I will. I'll come back. And thank you for having us.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. And that's what you call guilting people while they're already on. You get it recorded, and then there's no turning back.
That's right.
But thank you all for tuning into Chamber Chat via Zoom, and support TeamWalk in any way that you can. We highly encourage you to do so. Thanks so much.
The Coalition for a Better Acre invests in communities, developing stable neighborhoods, and building futures. Since day one, Enterprise Bank has been CBA's leading local funder, because Enterprise understands commercial lending, how to streamline the process, and make it easy, serving as a trusted advisor and partner. Whatever your idea of success, Enterprise can help get you there. Enterprise Bank. Create real success. Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.